Hey, thanks for checking in today. If you listen to my podcast enough, you know I tend to venture off the wine road on occasion because there are some fantastic craft breweries and distillers here in Northern California. Today I'm featuring a distiller that has become very popular, Works Distillery. Join me, won't you? Works Distillery had been on my radar for quite some time. I heard a lot of good things about what they're crafting. Late last year, I was at the North Bay Business Journal and Winnovation Awards, and Timo and Ashby of Works were recognized as a leading business in the distiller owner category. And not long ago, their Slow Gin picked up the Good Food Award. We'll talk about that coming up. Interestingly, these two met on an environmental research vessel on the high seas. Who'd have thought they'd be distilling pros a few years later? They certainly didn't. We were chatting in their tasting room and some good content was being discussed, so I quickly turned on my recorder. Timo was just beginning to talk about their location in the Barlow Shops, Food and Drink Complex.
The Barlow was just a concept at the time and one that was exciting to us. It was kind of exactly what we were looking for, and it has turned into exactly what we were looking for. We're able to be a beautiful manufacturing space behind glass doors, which means that anyone can see what we're doing at all times, which is also very important to us. We want to be as transparent and honest about our product as we can, and we want to be as authentic as we can about our product, and we want people to be able to see that as well. So this space invites people in. Even our tasting room, as you can see, has these large picture windows into the space so that people can see what we're doing.
That is an incredible still that you guys have, the Carl.
Yeah, so that's the company in Germany that makes one of the companies in Germany that makes stills. They have a long tradition of small craft still making, long time, and of course the German tradition of being engineers and exact in what they do. So this still here was designed by Ashby to do what she wanted it to do at the time, and then was engineered to her specifications out in Germany, built out there and shipped out here, and then we built it together.
Obviously, I didn't design stills from the beginning of time. There were elements of it.
But you altered it, though, didn't you?
I mean, there were elements that I knew I wanted the still to do specifically. Yeah, that's for sure.
So, adding in some slight different components to it, and taking some out as well. So it is truly a hybrid still, and it allows us to do many different things on the one piece of equipment.
Everything you make.
Everything we make and more as well, actually. Everything we make currently is grain-based, but it is actually a fruit still as well. So it will allow us we can also play with it with fruit-based products in there.
Why don't you give me a quick run of everything that you're producing right now?
Sure. So we do our main products from our organic red winter wheat, our vodka, our gin, slow gin, barrel gin, and then our wheat whiskey. And then we also feature a rye whiskey, which is 70% rye and some specialty malted grains.
The slow gin I'm particularly proud of. We are the only producers of it in the US, but also it's a slightly different version, I think, to what people are used to, in the sense that it's not as sweet as a traditional slow gin. So it's very popular and used a lot out in market in the cocktail scene. But we went and did something else with it as well. We have beautiful American white oak barrels, and so we put some slow gin one day into a barrel because we can, and aged it in a barrel for a short period of time. So we make a barrel reserve slow gin, which I've never heard. I haven't heard exists nowadays. However, I would hazard a guess that back in the day, when slow gin was being made, they would make it in a wooden container of some sort, and so this is probably a bit more what the traditional flavor may have been back in the day.
I prefer the spirits from barrel a little bit, especially like a grappa. If you can get a nice caramel-colored grappa that was aged in barrel, it's so much easier to drink.
The maturation process is fascinating to us, and the effects that the barrel is going to have on whatever liquid is in that barrel is pretty amazing. The barrel always softens that product, and of course by adding its own components to that product. It can, depending how that barrel has been treated and what wood it is, it will add different sweet sides to it and different components that will make it feel more mellow, more round.
Now that I'm drinking the barrel-aged sloe gin, I'm getting a little bit of pepper. Could that be from the white oak?
It could be, yeah.
American barrels are known for being a little bit more peppery, I think.
I think so. It depends which particular aspect of them they've been treated, but there's definitely some components in there that can come through as pepper. They tend to add more vanilla flavors, butterscotches, toasted coconuts, those sort of sweet, those caramels, yeah. But absolutely, there are floral components in there. There are peppery components in there. It changes our sloe gin from one that's that kind of delicious kind of cranberry, citrusy kind of sour kind of side to it. It adds a little candied orange in there and those sort of flavors. It's interesting.
All from one berry and a barrel.
Yeah.
And you won the Good Food Award for your sloe gin, not the barrel, but your regular sloe gin.
Yeah, for the regular sloe gin, we did. We were very honored for that. It's a pretty rigorous competition to enter because it's all about sustainability and how you make your product and the ingredients that go into it. So it was a very big compliment to be among some of the top distilleries in the country that won an award for our spirits.
And congratulations to them for that recognition. When you visit their website, you'll see reference to their grain-to-glass philosophy. They are determined to only use quality products, for instance, using organically grown wheat and choosing producers with whom they have complete faith.
Sure. That's a huge important factor. Anything of your base ingredient is so important to us. We have an environmental background as well, and so we wanted that to reflect in the spirits that we make and everything that we produce here.
Do you think your awards are stemming from that, or is it also the aspect of the Carl that you're using?
I think it's many-pronged factors that contribute to that recognition. We are nothing, of course, but our team. And as I said, we're a very small group of people here, but there's 8 of us that work here at Spirit Works currently, and every single one of those people affects how we're represented out in market, how our product is made and packaged, the design and the whole outlook of who we are, the running of the tasting room. The very fact that our space is clean and tidy, and all those different factors contribute to a presence and a brand reputation that has put us in a place that seems to work. When we first started being a grain-to-glass facility, a lot of people told us that from a business aspect, and they're quite right as well, it's quite an expensive venture because...
You're looking for organic material, and that's going to be a little more challenging.
Well, but also we spend a lot of time and raw materials making our base spirit, whereas a lot of distilleries and a lot of products out there are made with a base spirit that's bought, so they don't have to go through most of this process or time. Which also has its place. There's some great products made in that way, but we wanted that control from start to finish. And so what's happening at the time, that was difficult. What's happening more and more now is that we're finding that the consumer is people out there who enjoy spirits are asking that question: who makes it, and how is it made, and what is the components that's going into this? They're becoming a lot more curious about those products, and so now, because of that, we're very well placed for that, because of our philosophy right from the start, which is that we want to do this right. We want to do it authentically.
That's great.
Yeah, we're lucky that we picked that path, but also it was part of who we are, who Ashby and I are.
How is your sloe gin being received by the family? Do they think that you're encroaching upon the secret family recipe, or is it different enough that they're just happy for you? And
I think they like it. They keep asking for it, so it can't be.
But our first test was to send one of our first batches to Timo's father, and he gave us his blessing.
Great. Also, my family, my parents, and my brother as well. Actually, I have 3 siblings, but one of my brothers they helped a lot with the recipe development back in the day. So when we said we're going to go down the road of making sloe gin commercially, they helped us with the recipe back at home to figure out what was going on, because we were living in the US, and so we couldn't find sloes here, so they were picking sloes and doing that for us. They were a great help and very, very supportive of our endeavors out here. Both families have been very supportive of what we're doing here. It's been great.
Do you find yourself just shaking your head when you think back about how you met Timo on a research vessel and
where we are
you're
today?
out in the middle of the ocean and then where you are today in just not too many years?
It is one of those. Someone, of course, asked me the other day how long we'd been married, and I was like, wow, we're coming up on 13 years. I feel young. That seems like a long time ago, but we've managed to accomplish a lot in that time, which is pretty exciting. We've always been adventurous, and we've always been somewhat independent, and so I think this path sort of was very appealing to us, to be able to run your own business, which in one way is great, and of course the other side of it is you're responsible.
Fortunately, you have Lauren here to help you, and I guess she was your...
Yeah, Lauren's been here since the very beginning. So Lauren actually started as our first tasting room manager, and before that she was working in chocolate, and she had become interested in spirits because she was doing this little chocolate pairing section with the company that she was with. So she would go out and do a chocolate pairing with whiskeys, and that piqued her interest in spirits. She ended up moving up to this area and just showed so much interest in production. She was great in the tasting room. She is awesome with people, and we loved her in here. But it was like, I think I want to
She had a stellar palate.
Yeah, exactly. She has an incredible palate, and she was ready to come and work. And so she worked with me for a year and just learned everything so fast and so well. And her palate, as you mentioned, is just right on, which is exactly what you need in distillation.
I guess having that winery background and growing up in vineyards, she developed flavors pretty early on.
Sure, yeah, I'm sure that has a lot to do with it, being with a wine family. And she continues on her own personal education, so she takes a lot of courses at the community college and things on different palate sensing, and which is great to see that she's so passionate. She wants to continue the education.
You heard us referencing their still earlier. The second column has 21 plates, which is basically 21 different shelves reaching up to the tall ceiling. I asked Ashby if she could take a moment to explain how the distillation process works.
Sure. I mean, it's a beautiful process. So I guess the concept of distillation is that you're removing the spirit or the alcohol from any water so that you're purifying that. And when you boil a pot of liquid that has some alcohol in it, but also has some other impurities, the alcohol boils before the water or those other impurities. And as it boils, it turns into that vapor. And the vapor then goes through the still itself, is rectified, purified, and then runs through the condenser, which is simply a cold water jacket that brings that back into a liquid form again, and you get that pure spirit. So it's literally gone from a spirit form, a spirit vapor, down back into a liquid, and that's the beauty of where distillation.
Nice and clean, no impurities.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can do so many things with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really creative way, because we can make our own base here. So we make our own distillate that's 190 proof, which is the definition of vodka. We can then make our gin from that, and then make our barrel gin and our sloe gin. So it's very nice that we have the flexibility within our own spirit to be able to then make other things. Our head distiller also, Lauren, has been experimenting with some other things that we're just doing, minimal tastings out of the tasting room here, but she's put out an aquavit that we're looking forward to, and maybe a nocino down the line. So there's always something fun coming out of here as well.
Maybe a limoncello.
Maybe. Now, I haven't heard that one thrown about, actually, but you never know. There are a lot of lemons around here.
But interesting that vodka is the base alcohol in a sense, and even with the whiskey too, not the wheat whiskey.
Sure. Well, it's the base grain. For the whiskey specifically, there is a different yeast and a different distillation process. But yeah, it's the exact same grain. Yeah, it's a really interesting process.
So the rye whiskey, The rye whiskey is the only one that's a little different out of your whole lineup.
Yeah, it is. And, I have a big palate for rye, and it was something that I always wanted to make. And so, being head distiller, I could at the time. And yeah, of course, rye is a very popular spirit. So we really wanted to feature that. It's a very heavy rye. It's over 70% rye, and then a little bit of specialty brewing malt. So our goal was to really find that spice that you get from the rye, but then balance it with a little sweetness from the malts. And it's been very well received. But right now we're putting out all our rye whiskeys, and our wheat whiskeys are 3 years old, aged in new American charred oak barrels.
Yeah. Again, I love that aged flavor.
Yeah.
Barrel aged flavor.
It's a gentle coercion towards the spirit. I think it's beautiful.
So how many years have you been at it now?
We've been here since 2012. Yeah. So it was about 6 months after that we put out our first project. I actually had some time here we wanted to put out our gin and our slow gin. That was our main goal to get out initially. And the recipe for gin, the amount of botanicals that you can put into a gin are in the hundreds. And so to find and hone in on that recipe took me about 6 months.
I bet.
Yeah, there was things that I really wanted to put in it, but then when you distilled them, it just didn't work out that way. So it was a good learning process though. And then luckily we didn't have to put something out too fast. So I was like, maybe I really love it. And we came out with, we're very, very proud of this.
I like it.
Thanks.
And as I said earlier, I'm not a gin fan, so I could drink that. For sure.
It's interesting because we did try to keep that dry traditional gin element, but I think because we hand zest our lemon and oranges here, it brings a brightness to it that people really respond to well.
Yeah. So you've already had to expand. You said you're about 2,000 to 3,000 cases now.
Yeah, so we're getting up there, and then everything's based on demand. So the more people out there are looking for us, the more we'll be able to put out.
Well, keep winning awards, and the word will continue to spread.
That helps certainly.
Well, you've already had a reputation, and I almost have to apologize for taking so long to get over here to do this interview.
No, everyone has busy lives and busy places, and there's a lot of cool stuff around here. So, right. As a journalist, you've got a lot to cover.
Yeah, that well's not going to run dry anytime soon.
No, I don't think so.
It's a real pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for coming. And we always invite people. Our tasting room's open from Wednesday through Sunday from 11 to 5. And then we do tours on the weekends, and we love to have people here and come check it out.
If you're into well-crafted spirits, do yourself a favor if you live in Sonoma County or visiting soon and swing by Spirit Works in Sebastopol at the Barlow to enjoy some vodka, whiskey, rye and wheat, gin, and their award-winning slow gin. You may have noticed that Timo disappeared. He had to go back to work. They put in about 12 hours over there every day. Thanks to Ashby and Timo for taking the time to talk with me. You can find out more about them at spiritworksdistillery.com. If you're listening to this on iTunes, Stitcher, or another podcast provider, you can find more interviews and interesting content on my website, onthewineroad.com. I'm on Facebook as On the Wine Road and Instagram and Twitter at JD Wine Road. If you'd like to join my wine community, look for me on Patreon. There I provide compelling tidbits you won't find elsewhere, and I give you tempting incentives as a patron. That's patreon.com/onthewineroad. Patreon is Patreon. Thank you for your continued support and keeping me company on the Wine Road.